Hi my friend, it's a Scrapalicious Saturday. Now I'm going to show you a little bit about what I have up here because I wanted to do this while the design wall was free, because it's not going to be free for very long. It'll be filled up and I'm not going to be able to do other things on there for a little while. But when I do scraps, I like to cut them in sizes that are what pre-cuts are, because there are so many patterns that use pre-cuts that if my scraps are cut up already into a charm pack size, which is 5-inch squares, 2.5-inch strips, which are jelly rolls, or 10-inch squares, which are layer cakes. And different companies call them different things, but that's basically the three basic sizes. And then I also do 2.5-inch squares, which are things that were cut from all of these, the 2.5-inch squares. But I do a lot with 2.5-inch squares as well. Okay. So what does that have to do with Scrapalicious today? Well, I decided when I told you that I really wanted to see this Holly Holidays by my friend Christopher as my Oh My Stars quilt, I decided I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I approach and think about this set of fabric to get it onto the Oh My Stars so that it's balanced and looks really nice. Some people actually do this with scraps, which is totally fun. Go through your scraps if you want to do one that's all blues or blue and green or purple and pink or pink and white, or you could just do anything. I've seen them done like as rainbow, like each row is like a rainbow color. But there's a couple of tips, particularly for the stars, because they need to pop, and it's very easy to forget that, and then your stars don't actually show up very well. So first thing is, when you do any kind of a pre-cut, this is a fabric line, and so the fabric line has a certain set of colors, and in the pre-cuts if there are not, these are 42, they're always 42, but if the fabric line doesn't have 42 different fabrics, which they usually don't, then there will be multiples of here, like multiples of the Santa face or multiples of the trees, and they're not always balanced, so you need to look at what this takes. The Oh My Stars pattern, which is the free one, this size, which is, it's like a 41 by 50, this size takes 2 charm packs. So let's look at the colors for this one. What I have done is, over on my table there is I have set them, I've broken them out by color so that I can work them up onto the wall. And a design wall is really critical for this process. If you don't have a design wall, it's a little more challenging because you're kind of not able to, maybe sort as well. So let's look. Whoop. Got my thing. I moved the camera here. It's over behind my sewing machine so that you can see the wall a little bit better, but that means everything else is kind of awkward. Okay, here we go. That's the top of the sewing machine. I'm going to lay the colors out down here. So I've got a set of greens, and even on here there's a few that are like this. That could go in the white pile or it could go in the green pile. When I say white, that means it has more white in it to me than the other color. Okay, then there's red. So this has a red pile, green, red, pink. So it has pink, and once again, like the pink has this, which could go in the white pile. Then the white pile, which is quite big. There are more white fabrics in this, white background fabrics, than anything else. And then the black. So in this grouping, the red and the black are about the same. A few more green and pinks, there's more of those, and then this white. All right, let's go look at the wall again. Over here. So let me zoom in just a little bit when I'll come over here. So what I'm doing is taking the pattern, I've got the fan on because it is warm. So I'm taking the pattern, and I first just want to do an outline of it on the design wall. So so that's how wide it is, and this is how long it is. Then I can fill it in. The second thing I want to do is place the stars. So there's a star here, a star here. Let me get you the pattern so you can see on the pattern where the stars are. And 2 of them are totally inside. The other 3 go into the border. And that's the way I did it. So I wanted to to lay out two of the stars, and I'll put those later. I got a bigger piece of green, which is what the stars will all be made of. Now, the big deal here is I want those green stars to pop, which means the fabric around them needs to be light enough. And out of all these options, that means I don't want to put a star points on top of the black, and I don't want to put star points on top of this green, because if I did, you're not going to see the star points. So I'm going to show you back down here on the counter again, because I have in that stack, this is the green I'm using for the stars and the star points. All right, so down here, if I've got a black fabric, and if I got the black fabric and I want to put a star point on it, it's okay, but it is going to fade as you get distance on this. It will just mesh into and blend into that black. So that is just not a good option. And then if I were to use, like, put it on like the Santa face is here, you know, it's the same deal. You're just not going to see it. It's better on there, but you're still not going to see it that well. So those are not the good options to have. Now, up on the wall, I've got whites or the white-based backgrounds, but I want to mix that up a little bit, because I don't want it to be so obvious that every star has white around it, because that is going to stand out to me. It is not going to blend in nicely with the whole quilt. So I probably on the upper left will change one of those whites out to something else, maybe flip a pink up there instead. Now this block here in the middle that's floating, I did two whites and a pink and a red. And then I'll probably do something similar to that on the other one that floats in the middle, just so that they're all balanced. And I want to just lay them all up there. Then I'll take pictures a couple of times and see how it looks. Because once you just start, you know, putting fabrics up, like also in the corners, it's better probably not to have a black around the star points at all. You know, probably be best to just try to, the green would be fine, the light greens would be fine there, but just try to keep the black fabrics other places. So use those, you know, like out here in a spot where it is not surrounding the star at all. That is going to give the star the best possibility of popping. There won't be any fabrics surrounding it that blend with it. So there you go. This is the philosophy of an Oh My Stars. It's fun. It's fun, and they don't take very long. The pattern has you that you can sew it in rows, but you could also approach this as quadrants. Now the border stars are different. The stars points inside on the blocks all float. So you're not matching points out to the edge. On the outer, they do match out to the edge. So it's a little difference in how they are. But you could sew this in chunks. You can make it into like 4 sections, the middle part, and sew those. And that's probably what I'm going to do, because I'm going to need this design wall. I might take a chunk and pin them, you know, in rows somehow, so I know what I'm doing, so that I can sew them on. I'm sewing the other things and do them as I start and I end, start and end units. And for a little while, I can probably leave parts of this up there. Because it's not so big, I'm probably going to shove it like way up on the top left. I'll get the ladder. And then that way, when I'm sewing my other things, I can sew them down here until I need the space. So I can kind of have 2 things up on this wall. It'd be lovely to have a space that was big enough for 2 walls. And I could take one of my quilts down. I can't reach over there, over the counter very well, so that wouldn't work. I'd have to put it on the back side that you see, but that's where the fireplace is. So it hides well behind a quilt, but I don't know about behind a design wall. Anyways, that's life here in my studio. So a few other things I have going on, well, just follow-ups, is that, remember the blocks from yesterday? I went and sewed the 4 blocks together. That's all this is, just 4 blocks I already had. The link is below to this pattern of the block if you want it. It's one we did, I think, in 2019 or 2018, but it's down below. Now I am going to put this gray that I have as a little, I'm going to put that as a little border on it, and then I will also bind it in that gray, which I also have made, of cut. I didn't actually make it yet. And then on the Bats and Boos, I am going to do a little 1 1/4 inch border on it, and then, well, that's the border, and then that's the binding. So I have both of these cut, and so all I have to do is sew them and get. And my last thing is, remember I talked about my rotary cutter having a nick? I'm pretty sure it does. So changing the blade today. All right, that is a scrapalicious day. You might want to make an Oh My Stars that's totally scrappy. I hope you do. Show it on the group, and if you have made an Oh My Stars today, show me it. I'd love to see all the Oh My Stars that you have made. So I love you. Have a great day. Mwah. See you online.